So both Uber and Lyft were going to shut down on Thursday right at 11:59, but in the last few hours, a judge had said that they are granted an extension and they have certain requirements in order to continue operating while this lawsuit is going on, while also trying to overturn AB 5. And that's what we're talking about right now. Hey everyone, Chris here from Real Rideshare Stories. If you're new to the channel and you're looking for different things within the rideshare industry, whether it's updates to what's going on, news, tips and tricks for passengers and drivers, or what actually happens on real rideshare rides, start now by hitting that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Also make sure to check the description below for other helpful information and tips. Well, Uber and Lyft almost had to shut down and were really planning on it in the state of California when a judge created an injunction. It was 10 days that said Uber and Lyft had to reclassify their drivers as employees instead of independent contractors. But Uber and Lyft said they were going to pull out of the state and shut operations down. And that led to a higher court ruling saying that you can continue operating as is, but there are stipulations when it comes to how you can operate continually in the state of California. So we're going to be covering that type of thing as well as what's going on when it comes to California. But don't worry, for anybody who is in California, you will still be able to drive at least for the foreseeable future, and there will be deadlines that Uber and Lyft have to work themselves out by, and if they don't, then yes, they could still shut down, or they will have to change their drivers into employees to continue operating in the state, while they are also trying to push this lawsuit away and also try to get Prop 22 passed in November so they can avoid this altogether. Now that may seem a little confusing because there are a lot of moving parts to this and there's a lot of different avenues and it's a lot of overlapping things. So hopefully it didn't make too much of a headache for you, but yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to that. So this is the article I'm going to be referencing right here, and I did want to wait a couple of days to make sure that the articles did have the proper information and all the information when it came down to the dates, how they were broken down, and exactly what it's going to look like, because a lot of the articles I was reading initially when it had happened, they weren't throwing that information in there, so it was a little bit of confusion when it came down to it, but at least luckily this one does. It is an opinion piece, yes, but the good thing is it does have those dates and exactly what Uber and Lyft need to do in order to stay okay within the law and continue operating as is. Because if they don't, then that overturn of the original injunction could actually go back and be rescinded, and then they would be pretty much up a creek without a paddle. So let's go right into it. It's from MarketWatch and it's titled California Makes Bold Moves to Tackle Big Tech with Uber and Lyft Showdown. Link will be in the description below, so if you want to check this out, you can. It goes on, ride-hailing companies win temporary reprieve, but battle is not yet over. So as California becomes one of the first states to take on big tech in the ongoing battle over the employment status of Uber and Lyft drivers, the scaffold ride-hailing companies are now working their political contacts to avoid complying with a law that has been on the books for almost a year, also known as AB 5. So earlier Thursday, an appellate judge granted an emergency stay, lifting the injunctions against Uber Tech and Lyft Inc. that ordered them to comply with the California law known as AB 5 that requires ride-hailing companies to classify their drivers as employees instead of independent contractors. So the companies had threatened to shut operations in the state rather than to comply with the ruling, and they would have shut down at 11:59 on Thursday night, but this came just a few hours earlier where they were able to continue operating as is, but with certain restrictions and guidelines that they have to follow, and if not, then it's going to be a major problem for them. So it says they now have an expedited time frame for their appeals, which in an unusual request from the appellate judge PJ Pollack will now be consolidated. Both Uber and Lyft have until August 25th to agree to the expedited procedures and then until September 4th to filing their opening briefs. So they have to make sure that they're not wasting time and trying to get more and more and more time, as there are some people who think that's all they're trying to do. So the judge said, we will let you continue on as is, but you have to make sure you follow these expedited procedures. Otherwise, you're going to be in violation. So the two companies, but Uber even more so, have taken an act first and seek forgiveness later approach when it comes to complying with international and local regulations. Now both are using all the political might that they have gathered up over the past years to buy more time in this battle, in the hopes that a ballot measure in the upcoming November election, known as Prop 22, will overturn AB 5. The companies are spending millions of dollars fighting a law that will make their operational costs rise if they are forced to pay benefits to their drivers. Their threats to shut down their operations in the state raised enough concern to get support in some corners. So it said late Wednesday, the mayors of San Jose and San Diego issued a joint statement saying they had serious concerns that nearly 1 million gig economy workers in California would lose their jobs if Uber and Lyft shut down their operations in the Golden State. They also played the pandemic card, saying that many of those drivers are helping homebound seniors and transporting patients seeking medical care. In their statement, they asked the appeals court to stay the injunction against the companies. The vast majority of drivers want to stay independent workers and are looking for solutions that protect their independence while providing an additional benefit, said Kevin Faulkner, mayor of San Diego, and Sam Liccardo, mayor of San Jose, echoing the party line of the companies. And I also made a poll a few days ago on whether Uber and Lyft drivers want to stay continuing as independent contractors or become an employee or follow a third classification, which would remain independent contractors with benefits. And the overwhelming amount of you guys that voted had said that they want to remain as is currently, or the third classification where you are an independent contractor still. So either way, the overwhelming majority want to stay independent contractor versus employee. And then it goes on and it says, in addition, Uber and Lyft, along with DoorDash, has spent at least $30 million each so far on Prop 22, which would exempt them from AB 5. So while the state ushered in a new law that offers more protections to workers, the companies involved have been doing everything possible to make their part of the gig as low cost and as high profit as possible, instead of preparing for a major change and making changes in their operations to accommodate the new law. They have continued to relentlessly fight it. The appellate judge, however, is demanding that the CEOs of both companies submit a sworn statement also by September 4th, confirming that the company has developed implementation plans under which, if this court affirms the preliminary injunction and Prop 22 on the November 2020 ballot fails to pass. So they are making sure that it's a smooth transition and it will be something that can be done quicker, instead of them saying, oh, we need many days or weeks or several months even in order to switch over our systems. So they're putting it on an expedited process. So by September 4th, they need to make sure that they have those statements. And then going on to the last, it says whether these efforts to rein in tech giants will be successful or not is way too early to tell, but it's clear that the rest of the US is watching. The Uber and Lyft showdown is an important battle in the war against the dominance of big tech. Even if that article is an opinion piece, yes, the rest of the US is watching, because it could have some impacts in your area or your state if they're trying to look at something like AB 5. New York State is one of them, so is New Jersey, Massachusetts, and some other states that are actually looking to implement AB 5 or something extremely similar to it. So they're going to probably be sitting back and really watching and see what's going to happen, because I know some of the legislation, especially in New York State, has just pretty much stopped, but that's also partly to do because of the pandemic, so they're not really pushing any of those things forward. But it also could be something where they're watching what's going on in California and seeing if it's going to be a problem for their state or not. But I also want to know, what do you think? What do you think about all this? Comment below, let me know. Now that's the end of this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Also, make sure to check the description below for other helpful information and tips. And as always, never drink and drive. Always tip your drivers, your delivery drivers, and your shoppers. And we'll see you next time.